goes down, and the referee points to the penalty spot. He lines it up and scores. Sterling cuts it back, it's Foden. 2-0 to City. Gabriel Jesus, he's picked this one up inside the box, goes for goal, and he finds the net. Gabriel Jesus making it 3-1.
And Wolves torn apart. What a move from City. City back in action.
We are unbeaten now in 27 games in all competitions, and a win tonight will match the club record of 28 set back in 2017. But it's Wolves that stand in our way, and they have enjoyed victories over us in recent seasons, including here at the Etihad. But we are, of course, flying high for a reason. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to We're Not Really Here. I'm Natalie Pike, and for tonight's game, I have drafted in two of the most passionate true blues that I could find. Joining me on the sofa is Nedum and Stephen McInerney. Good evening, gents. But we're going to wait to get the interesting chat. We're going to get straight into the exciting team news that we have for you straight away. We know that you're dying to know who's in the starting 11 tonight, and we're going to tell you straight away. So here is your team news for tonight's game against Wolves. So starting in goal is, of course, Ederson. Then you have a back four of Walker, Diaz, Laporte and Cancelo. Moving into midfield, Rodri. We have captain Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, Raheem Sterling, and Gabriel Jesus. And Gabriel Jesus has scored 3 goals in his last 3 Premier League appearances against Wolves. So you're looking at 6 changes there from the game at the weekend against West Ham. And on the subs bench, you have Stefan, Stones, Gundogan, Aguero, Zinchenko, Torres, Fernandinho, Foden and Garcia. So that is your starting 11 for tonight's game against Wolves. Kickoff in just under an hour now. So, good evening, gents. Thank you for joining us. Are you well?
I'm very good. How are you, Natalie?
Yes, I'm good. I'm excited for another game, another chance to make another record. A little bit nervous, but I think that's just the blue inside me.
Yeah, that's the old school blue inside you, yeah. I think it must be so nice to be a younger blue at the moment, because all you've seen is success, but I think most of the people on this sofa know
we were
a slightly
about off
different
camera,
pain,
weren't we? We were like, we imagine being young right now. You've literally won the lottery, haven't you? Well, we're still nervous, even though despite everything, we're sat here going, oh, could be the one, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
I like the nerves, on Saturday. When I was really nervous towards the end, and I was like, oh, I forgot what this feeling was like. It was nice. I enjoyed it.
That's sick, to be honest. That's not for me at all.
So let's have a look at the starting 11 tonight. Obviously, lots of games, back-to-back games. We know that we've got a derby game at the weekend as well. Obviously, we'll be playing on Saturday just gone. So when you instantly look, Nedum, at the starting 11, what are you thinking?
Yet again, it's another great City side. I think the rotation, it doesn't necessarily weaken the team. And when you're in that sort of position where you can make changes, given the schedule and so on, but the momentum remains the same, that's a truly terrific spot to be in. And I look at the team there today, it looks like a team based on the same principles as other weeks, and with bodies in there who want to continue to prove a point and to go out and just try and break the records, as we keep saying.
Stephen, any surprises for you? Because obviously you do on your YouTube channel, you do a prediction of the team. Did you get close, or are you surprised by anyone?
I can't remember. I'm going to pretend I did, actually. But I guess I was maybe expecting Zinchenko to get a game, but at the same time, you look at Walker and Cancelo. I guess Pep's got Neto and Traore's pace in mind, so that's not too surprising. I guess Gundogan, getting a little bit of a rest is a surprise. No Aguero after the other day is interesting. No Foden as well, but once again, it's just a silly bench, isn't it? Like the strength of depth we've got at the moment, it's like we can make these changes, and I guess most teams are killed to be where we are right now, and it's lucky. But the team, I expected a few changes tonight, but no big surprises for me. But you could just pick 11 players at the moment with this squad, and they'd probably do a job.
Yeah, talking about that bench there, I semi-seriously said to you before that I think that bench would finish in the top 4 of this league. What do you think?
Honestly, they give most teams a game. I reckon you get at least through an hour for that, which is just ridiculous. I mean, we've come an awful long way as a club, and I'm sure Nedum as well remembers different days, but that bench is just surreal. It's genuinely surreal, and what a club, what a squad that we've got at the moment.
Looking at the defence there, Nedum, obviously tonight we've got Walker playing, Cancelo then we're expecting to be out there on the left, and Laporte with Stones getting what we'll guess is a rest or a bit of a rotation. What is the difference between putting Cancelo on the left when Laporte's playing?
I think, to be honest, when I see Laporte, Diaz and Walker, you know that they're going to form a 3 at the back. So in terms of the role that Cancelo has, in attack, he has more freedom to move around because the width will probably be provided by, say, a Mahrez or a Sterling on that side. So there's not essentially the need for him to be back in a back 4 as such when he's playing that left back or that theoretical left back spot. And in some ways, that suits him because, again, it's for City, it's a new type of danger that teams are having to deal with now, because I think as a football player, you're always in your mind thinking about your battles and your one-on-one duels and so on. But who's thinking about where Cancelo's going to be when City are attacking? Because normally it would be the right winger, but the right winger is not going to come to central midfield to follow him around. So you're left, you're sort of pondering, like, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with this? And when he's somebody that's so good on the ball but wants the ball all the time and wants to be progressive with it, that's a big danger for the opposition. But if they spend too much time thinking about him, you're forgetting about Rodri, you're forgetting about Bernardo Silva, forgetting about Kevin De Bruyne. So the fact is that spot suits him. Playing fullback for City right now for him suits the team down to the ground, suits him down to the ground, and it's been a joy to watch.
Have you been in a team where you've been playing and the opposition, you're not really sure who's going to be playing? Like, how do you deal with it?
As we've seen over the past few weeks, you don't really know how to deal with it because, as I say, you're used to a matchup. I remember, I think it was when Pep was at Bayern Munich, there was a point where he had Philipp Lahm coming in, and I remember seeing an ex-United player, Ryan Giggs, was on the left wing, and he was standing in the slot, which you've seen him standing for 20 years, but all of a sudden the position he was in was irrelevant because Philipp Lahm wasn't there anymore. So he wasn't helping his team, but he didn't know how to cope with this new sort of setup. And I think if you're going to be playing against City and you're going to do well, I think you have to be exceptionally organised and make sure that instead of essentially covering men, you cover spaces. And if a team can do that, then it gives them a better opportunity. But then with City's talent, you're always going to have a chance to win again.
When it comes to that, basically these teams these days have to be fit and organised. They also have to be tactically intelligent as well, to know exactly when to go and when to follow a certain player, which is like all of a sudden these days, it's like football intelligence has been challenged as well, not just ability and technical ability, which is scary. It's scary.
So I've been spoken to one of my friends who plays for Swansea recently. He played in the game in the FA Cup. He was saying that one of the best things about City was the fact that when you look at them, everything seems to make sense, but you're constantly having to make a decision. Do I go to him or do I not? And the thing is, when you do, it's a ploy to get the ball to somebody else. So when you're playing up against that, like it's basically people playing dumb on the field. It's the worst possible thing. It was kind of the same. Say whenever you're playing out from the back as well, sometimes you come up against attackers who are really good at reading your passes, but they look like they're like watching a film in the distance. They're not paying any attention whatsoever. The moment you put your head down to play it, they get there, you know what I mean? Some of the intelligence in what they do goes far beyond what we think.
And I guess that removes conviction then from your own game plan, doesn't it? Because if you don't know exactly where they're going to be and all that kind of stuff, and you doubt your own setup and all that kind of stuff, and conviction is what makes teams successful in general. So, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's chess master.
We're essentially rambling on, but the fact of the matter is, if you think you can stop City by closing one particular avenue, there's another one which they've got as a backup. And that one is a case of if you don't get it to Sterling, you get it to Jesus. If you don't get it to Jesus, you get it to Kevin De Bruyne. If you don't get it to him, you get it to Mahrez one-on-one in the box. And who really wants to play against that?
That's not rambling in the slightest. Really, really interesting.
What am I doing? It's not like me.
Well done. But also what plays into that, I think, is that we've talked about the squad depth that we have, but you never know who's going to be playing. I mean, I'm always saying on this show, I enjoy seeing who's going to be in the team and then working out who's going to play where and spending the first 10 minutes working out who's going to be where. We've talked about the defence there, but moving into midfield, obviously Gundogan, who's arguably been our player of the season, he's on the bench tonight, and we've brought Kevin De Bruyne is back again, obviously from his injury. I don't know what our best midfield is at the minute. What would you go for?
I think, to be honest, you kind of have to take it on a game-to-game basis. I think certain teams that you play against have certain needs, and I think it was a couple of weeks ago, Pep was saying how they're essentially, this has been the case for the last 2 months. He says we're taking every game as it comes. That's all we're focusing on. And I can believe it, because going into every one of those games, they've had a plan to stop the opposition's best traits, whether it's a case of passing them to death, or say when we played Spurs here, trying to stop them from being able to initiate a comfortable counter-attack. So that day they were swarming all around the midfielders. And you know there's certain people in your team who are good at certain things, which make it exceptionally difficult for the opposition. So to see that, say, for example, Gundogan isn't playing, you know, you're like disappointed, but he's been replaced with Kevin De Bruyne, or, you know, he's been replaced with Bernardo Silva, another player who people love to see on the field. And realistically as well, this has got to be my only complaint about Pep from previous years. The only people that get frustrated at Pep Guardiola are people who have fantasy football sort of rankings, fantasy football like issues in terms of picking a Man City team, because the team is doing so well. But that team can change as and when. You could score a hat-trick on Saturday and be nowhere to be seen on Tuesday. But for everybody else who doesn't have a stake in fantasy football, that level of rotation but still maintain like a maintenance of quality is fun. It's not real.
Yeah, you're safe with Ederson pretty much in the league, I would say. That's kind of about it then. You mentioned Bernardo Silva there. I love Bernardo Silva. He is... We've said a few times that when he came in, he was playing at such an incredibly high level, probably dropped off a little bit last season, but for me, he's come back this season in incredible form again.
Yeah, it's why you don't give up on quality, really, you know, because form, it's the whole cliche about, you know, form temporary, class permanent, but he's an absolutely astonishingly good player, and more than that as well, it's his work rate, his commitment, his ability. You've got that level of ability, and you tie it with immense dedication, and also, once again, you can tell Pep loves him, because Pep does that thing he does rarely where he goes, I bet his parents love him. You know, he's a good boy and all that kind of stuff. That's where you can tell when he's one of Pep's favourites. But Bernardo is he's an example to the footballers in terms of his, you know, his work rate is phenomenal. And to have that kind of just balletic touch and that grace on the pitch, but also be able to work incredibly hard and be that versatile. He's a manager's dream, literally a manager's dream. And I had no doubts personally that he'd find that quality again, because there's just too much natural ability there. And there's obviously, I feel like personally he seems quite an intelligent bloke. And maybe last year when, you know, I have a theory in general, some footballers are probably leaders and some are followers, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like Bernardo maybe he needed the team around him to be a little bit formed to find his own confidence, and that's just my theory. But now obviously we found a bit of belief again. He seems to be like, he's like your first soldier, you know what I mean? Like he's literally the one you want there alongside you. He's probably not, you know, your commander, he's not your Vincent Kompany or your Diaz, but he's your best soldier, and he's absolutely brilliant. And I don't think it's any surprise to me that Bernardo's found his form when the team's confident again, and that's why you don't give up on someone like Bernardo, because he's just brilliant. I
love Bernardo Silva. I think he's got a great connection with the fans as well. It's like he just gets it. He just gets it. And now, great timing. Without a cup of tea in sight, may I add, we are going to hear now from Bernardo Silva.
Bernardo, you keep on winning, but you're now in the middle of a run of games that are desperately important.
Yeah, we're on a good run, but it's going to be tough. We have Wolves, we have Man United, we have Southampton, we have Champions League, we have Everton away for the FA Cup. This season has been tough for everyone. We've been playing every 3 days for the past 6-8 months. But yeah, I think the team is in a good moment. We have an important game tonight, and we want to keep winning.
And the manager's making sure that you do, because records are being broken, but he's warned very clearly the players that if there's any complacency, he's going to leave you out.
Well, yeah, we know how it works in the team. We know how focused we have to be. We know that it was just the mentality that could put us in this position on the Premier League and in all the other competitions. So we know how good the squad is, and you know that if someone wants to play, you have to show it on the pitch. You have to work very hard to deserve it.
And Wolves have won 2 of the last 3 meetings with you, so you know they're a clear threat.
Well, yeah, they're in a good moment as well. They're a tough team. I have plenty of friends there. I know how intelligent they are. I know how tough it is to play against them. As I said, it's going to be difficult, but we're in a good moment and we want to keep it that way.
Best of luck tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bernardo recognising there, of course, that tonight does have the potential to be difficult because, of course, last season Wolves were phenomenal. They were brilliant. They beat us home and away last season. But this season, Nedum, it's been a different story for them. Have you seen much of them this year? Any idea on what's happened?
Obviously, we could go back to the point where Jimenez got injured, and that was like a big turning point for them, because I think for the time that he spent at the club, he was their talisman, he was their goal scorer, he basically set the tone from the front. So to lose somebody that big for you is always going to be very, very difficult. But again, it's the Premier League for, you can come up and you can have your best ideas and be doing well and so on, but that doesn't guarantee success going forward. And I think overall, maybe some of the teams that they're playing against have started to adapt to know what their strengths are, and now they're in a place whereby they almost have to be more of a front foot side, and I don't necessarily think that suits them.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jimenez there, and obviously Doherty as well seems to have been a big loss for them. How much do you think that has affected them?
Well, that's what they were, weren't they? Like wing-backs are a massive part of the game, and obviously effective wing-backs when you've got a target man like Jimenez, but arguably the most natural target man in the Premier League. It's a massive change for the system, and I guess little things like I was chatting to a Wolves fan for my preview on my YouTube channel, and he was saying they basically didn't have a pre-season because of European commitments, and that compounded with obviously Jimenez leaving, and then the young lad they bought, the 40 million lad, he's not really settled, unfortunately. That, with Doherty leaving as well, they've lost basically a lot of what made them such a difficult team last season. Having said that, they are Wolves still, and they've still got Adama Traore. That Neto guy's come in and been absolutely fantastic, and they've got quality. Neves could ping one in from 30 yards quite easily. Martino's a brilliant footballer. The back three's really established for them. But I guess every now and then you're going to have a season like this, and even then we're talking about Wolves having a poor season where they're still roughly mid-table, and if anything they've overachieved since they came to the Premier League anyway. So it's been a weird year, so I don't think they'll be too disappointing given the circumstances, but they're still a massive threat, and Guardiola will definitely be taking them dead seriously because we have to. Yeah,
it does feel like they've overachieved. I think that's a good way of putting it, because obviously the last couple of seasons they've been really solid. You mentioned a few of the players there. Let's take a look at the Wolves starting 11 now, and we can pick out any sort of key players that we think might be an issue for us. So in terms of when I'm looking at the Wolves starting 11 there, obviously Neto is jumps out. We'll talk about him in a second. So you've got Patricio, Dendoncker, Cody, Sayas, Hover, Neves, Martinho, Otto, Semedo, Neto and Traore. So yeah, immediately when we're looking at that starting 11 for Wolves, you're looking at Neto there, and we had on the show on Saturday, Michael Brown was absolutely and utterly raving about him. Also, Liam Gallagher on Twitter was raving about him and encouraging Pep to buy him. So, Scout Gallagher, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Neto, he seems like a very, very exciting prospect. And that's a great thing for Wolves. One thing I'd say, according to what Steve said as well, we talk about some of the dangers, and although Jimenez is still there, you talk about them losing Doherty. We forget to mention Jota as well, who was a key part for their front line. And, it seems like the better you do there, the sooner you appear to leave. And who knows, maybe Neto could fit into this sort of system here. But, again, you look at City's starting 11 and the bench, and I don't think there's a need to be bringing in more talent. But, I'm sure if he's got the right sort of mentality, then, he would be more than welcome. But he's somebody I'm looking forward to seeing today, because, I've seen him on TV and he does look like an exciting talent.
Do you know what scares me? Adama Traore, as of today, no assists or goals in the Premier League this season.
Why did you say it? Why did you say that?
This is the 80s baby Man City fan within you, because I saw the same thing and thought it said, of course it will be City that happens to. But I thought it. I tried not to say it, but you've said it, so now it's out there.
I'm sorry.
Well, they are on a good run at the minute, unbeaten in their last 5 league matches, winning 3 of those, including over Arsenal and Leeds United recently. So they're definitely no pushovers.
Yeah, no, they're a very good side, and they're organised, and they've got, I guess they've got familiarity with the system. They know what they're doing, and once again, there's just quality. There's internationals throughout that side. I mean, Semedo's come in, not really had the impact of Doherty, but he's still a good footballer with ability, and he's still capable of whipping in, a perfect cross or whatever. And you just can't ignore Traore once again, because that pace and that power he's got, he's genuinely ridiculously fast and strong, which I guess is the reason why Walker's playing today, because if anyone can match him physically, it's genuinely Kyle Walker. But once again, you can't really switch off when you've got established internationals with the quality of Neves and Martino, and once again they know how to play. They've got proof of success against us with their systems beforehand, and I feel like as well the 3-1 victory at the start of the season it feels like another lifetime ago, because the world's so strange at the moment. City are a different side since then, Wolves are a different side since then, so I almost feel like that doesn't really count for anything, because it was so long ago now, and City are unrecognisable, and everything that we were doing back then as well, the tactics have changed massively. So they'll see it as a free hit as well, roughly, because with all due respect to them, they're a brilliant side, but City and everyone expects City to win this today, so they'll have nothing to fear. So they'll give it a very good go today.
Yeah, and talking about Traore as well, this is the 2-0 victory for them against us here last season, in which he scored both the goals as well. And we can see that now. Hopefully we won't be seeing anything like that today. But I know what you mean in terms of free hit, because looking at their fixtures going forward as well, following this game, they've got Villa, Liverpool and West Ham, so they've got a difficult run coming up. As a player, Nedum, as fans, we often say it, it's a free hit, they're not, nobody's expecting anything. Would that ever cross your mind as a player?
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that. I think you wouldn't necessarily say something is a free hit, but you know that the expectations from the outside are so low that when you do go out there, you're not going to be judged based on that game itself. But that's not to say that a really bad result for you doesn't affect you going forward. I think there's an appreciation that from when you do go out there, you believe in yourself. I think the players who are playing in that team, as we mentioned with someone like a Neto, if Neto plays well and impresses Pep Guardiola, who knows what comes further down the line for him. And it's the same sort of thing for every player who plays against City right now. And impressive, I always feel like you're one really good performance away from being part of a conversation which maybe you weren't in before. So even though you can call it a free hit, that can also go the other way, because if you're horrendous basically because you didn't take it seriously, before you know it, it's like, oh, it's a crisis. Why did City score so many goals? Why were you not in the right position here? Why were you not in the right position there? And then before you know it, when the next game comes, you might not even be playing anyway. So it's the concept of free hit, maybe in terms of what people expect from you. But I think as a professional, especially playing at the highest level, you have the highest standards for yourself anyway.
Yeah, it makes me think when you say that, obviously Benjamin Mendy and Bernardo Silva, who both played against us when they were at Monaco.
Even Mahrez, I guess, as well.
Yes.
He destroyed us at one point. And then Pep would have gone afterwards. He did his little Pep thing. Good game today, some kind of thing. I'll get what's your number, pal?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he did that, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if that... of course he puts you on the radar. And you're more prone to be liking a player when you've seen them do something against you that you didn't want to happen. And so, like, for example, Neto, maybe Liam Gallagher's right. Maybe Neto today will see as a chance to really impress Pep or someone like that. And this is a big chance for these players to impress. And obviously, once again, you're on TV tonight. You get to one of the biggest sides in the world, and your profile naturally will improve if you have a big game. I think as well, though, as a player, I agree with everything you're saying, but I think you want to test yourself against the best, and this is definitely an opportunity to do so. Whatever your ambitions are, or however you perceive yourself, it's great if you can do it some of the time, but can you do it like more often and then in the biggest occasions against the best? If you leave this field today having played well against all of that City team, what does that do for your confidence going forward? So it's, as I say, it's a great opportunity. I wouldn't say it's a free hit, but it's a great opportunity for them to test themselves, and they'll be highly motivated to do that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So the idea as well that at the end of the game they might get an arm round the shoulder from this man as well must be a wonderful positive thought for them. Here is the thoughts now ahead of the game of our manager Pep Guardiola.
Pep, it's pretty relentless, isn't it? 4 games, 12 days, very little preparation time. How does this squad keep delivering?
The last 4 months is like this from the beginning of the season, so every 3 days games. So yeah, another one. Don't think much. Try to play and try to win the game.
So inevitable changes: 5 against Mönchengladbach, 7 against West Ham, 6 tonight. Is this the pattern as you look ahead to the end of the season? Is this what's going to happen?
No other chance. So we want to sustain the players mentally, physically a little bit. If you have, in that moment, we start in the first month or 2 months with many injuries, a lot of, unfortunately, COVID. We were 14, 15 players most of the times. So now we are everybody fit and everybody deserves to play in the best way. Everybody be involved on part of what we have doing, and that's why we will rotate the team.
And what do you make of this Wolves side tonight?
One of the toughest since we arrived here. The first season, I think we played in FA on Carabao Cup against them. Since Nuno and his team was promoted, was the toughest one. So always we lost many times. Last season both, draw, win sometimes. So the toughest ones, we know it. So we have to be patient. And the quality that plays up front if we are able to make the difference.
Best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
that was the thoughts ahead of tonight's game of our manager, Pep Guardiola, and I absolutely love his interviews this season. He's so animated. Have you seen some of his... Well, you watch them for your channel as well, some of his pre-match press conferences. He's really animated this season and really humorous, and he's loving it.
He's found a bit of confidence as well in himself. Not that Pep needed it, but you can tell he's had a bit of a second wind, so to speak. And at the moment, I feel like you can tell he knows he's onto a good thing. He had a tough year last year for very documented personal reasons, and I guess maybe deciding to stay at Manchester City and signing that new contract, and really, I guess, laying down his future has really helped him kind of focus and get back on track as well. And we forget, like, managers as well, you know, like we only talk about players being informed, but managers, they have better spells as well, and they sometimes, I can only presume when a manager is confident and happy and all that kind of stuff, they probably just make better decisions as well. And Pep at the moment, you can tell he's absolutely loving life. He's got a team absolutely dedicated. He's found a system that works for him, and he's definitely got that cheekiness back. I love it. I love his little cracking knuckles and all that kind of stuff in press conferences. More of that sassy Pep. More of it.
I also love his coat as well. I've said it a few times on this programme, but no one seems to be sending me one, but I absolutely love that coat. Now, somebody I would like to talk about, I often feel is perhaps overlooked a bit when we're talking about star players in this team at the minute, and that is Riyad Mahrez. Obviously, we mentioned in there, came to us from fly high in Leicester after having a few cracking games with us. Been with us a few years now, and I think this season, personally, he's having one of his best seasons for us. What do you think about how he's been doing this season so far, Nedum?
I think he's one of many players within the team who don't necessarily get the headlines, but are doing a great job for the team. But except for him, you add to the fact that he's scored 6 goals in the league and he's got 4 assists. And maybe he could have had more, but the fact is he's contributing. And from being lucky enough to have been in the stadium for quite a few games and so on, like, I like to watch games for not necessarily where the ball is, but how the whole system is. And for City, in the way that they do it, every player on the field understands their role, and I think that's another reason why Pep's exceptionally happy, because I think as a coach, if you can have your ideas, but can you get your players to buy into them and to do them all the time? And I think he has that, and in someone like Mahrez, he has that as well. So Mahrez is somebody who works exceptionally hard, say, from the defensive side, but then as well, like, these players, I think in our history, you'd see if they're not getting lots of touches of the ball, they'd go wandering just to try and touch it, just to try and do whatever. But he understands his role and he occupies the defence in a certain way, and then when he gets the ball, even if he gives it away 1 or 2 times, he reacts straight away, and then there's always a moment where he'll get somebody isolated inside the box, and I'll be honest with you, that's bad news. I remember seeing him in his first season for Leicester, and he had one of my centre midfield teammates digging a hole in the ground trying to find him. So, like I say, you can see he's very comfortable in a City shirt. He's comfortable in Manchester. He understands his role. He's looking to affect games in a positive manner. And as you can see, every time he gets himself into the box, the fact that he can go either way, it's a defender's nightmare, I'll be honest. But as far as City fans go, if you see him in there, just know that chances are something good's going to happen.
Do you know what makes him so good, Mahrez? In terms, we're basically a very organised team, and we're such a collective unit, and every now and then you need a bit of magic or someone who's willing to do something a bit individualistic, and Mahrez will literally ping one in for 30 yards or try and take on 2 plays, but sometimes you need that now. Sometimes you need someone who's going to mix it up a little bit and be unpredictable, and Mahrez is like predictably unpredictable, basically. You know what he's going to do, but he does it anyway, and you can't really stop him. And I guess there's something to be said for someone. He's kind of like a plan B at the same time as being the plan A today, but he's useful to have someone who will be willing to kind of draw defenders by shooting for 30 yards, and that then creates space. And Mahrez, he's not always at his consistent best, but he's a brilliant footballer, and he's one you definitely prefer to have, in your Arsenal, because he's just a difference maker, isn't he? His goal here we're watching now, it's just like, how many Man City players take that shot at the moment or try and pass it to someone else? I mean, that's what makes Mahrez special as a footballer, that he has that confidence and that conviction to go and do that, and that's a big goal from like a world-class footballer technically.
I often feel he might go under the radar a bit, because obviously he's playing in a team full of so many incredible players. And I often feel like with him as well, because we know how good he can be, there is a lot of expectation on his shoulders. Like you say, when he gets the ball, I'm like, if he's out on the white, like you say, if there's an isolated defender and he's got the ball, I'm like, something tasty could happen here. But in February, especially, he's really come into his own. He's nominated for the February Player of the Month, 2 assists, obviously that insane goal. He's hitting form at a really great time for us. Yeah,
he certainly is. And as Steve was saying there, it's a blessing to have people like him on the field who can do something that's a bit different. But then also, I think it feeds into the whole mentality within the club that, as we saw on the weekend as well, is anybody can step up at any point. On the weekend you're having 2 centre-backs scoring the winning goals. I think there was a game when I was here recently, John Stone scored 2. You know what I mean? Like, when you have that sort of structure of a team, but then you have that sprinkling of immense talent. You know, it's not just average, it's not just like a talented player. This is an exceptionally talented player. When you have somebody that can do something as an individual, which most people can't, that's also working hard for a team, you know, it's a formula which leads you to a position where, you know, you're 27 games unbeaten, and, you know, at this moment in time, you do well to find a team on planet Earth where City wouldn't be favoured against them.
Yes, I love that.
Lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Lovely.
just
Again.
yes, that's just wonderful. Mahrez has done a few interviews recently, and he did one that I found really interesting. Did you see the one where he talked about his connection with Bernardo Silva, and they don't even need to speak to each other; they're like telepathic to each other?
I didn't, but that's fascinating. Like, genuinely, I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I guess intelligent footballers just love playing with other intelligent footballers, because football for them, the reason they get so far, obviously they work incredibly hard and technically brilliant, but they understand the game. And if you understand the game, you've got more of a chance because you can do things quicker and you know exactly where to be. And it doesn't surprise me that I guess the brilliant work ethic and the technical ability to find Mahrez complements his game so well. And obviously that assist to him, he knew exactly where he was going to make the run. And certain players like that, they find this kind of companionship on the pitch that just makes them so dangerous because they enjoy playing together. You can see that. And I think, to be honest, there's a little bit of that for me throughout the City side at the moment. You know, people like Diaz and Stones, you can tell they love playing together. And Gundogan and Bernardo had a bit of a kind of comradeship going on as well. And then obviously Bernardo Mahrez seemed to get on really well. And that will help, you know, like familiarity definitely helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the Stones-Diaz bromance is something that's so
Adorable.
special. Oh, I love it. And of course, they both scored on the weekend against West Ham. A game that did, you know, we talked, I was a little bit nervous before. It had a potential possibly to be Bernardo skin. Obviously, the West Ham were riding high. And it was a tough game. But we did come out with our 20th victory in a row. What did you make of Saturday's game, Nedum?
Yes, I was here for that, and I thought it was a tough game, but it kind of showed City's credentials right now, the fact that they were able to overcome, because I think in the first half, you could see that West Ham were probably one of the few sides to have come and met City, but feeling just as confident. West Ham were in fourth. They're punching way above their weight and so on, and they believe they can beat anybody, and the way they do that isn't by outplaying teams and stuff like this. It's making it difficult. So here's a game which kind of suited them, and I think in the first half, I think I saw the stats. I think West Ham had 7 shots and City we had 2. And I was like, this is a weird game. There were quite a few mistakes and so on. But then you look at City's quality in the second half when it gets a bit more open. And West Ham didn't have a shot for the first maybe 30 minutes of the second half. And I can see that for City, being able to take it up a gear when they need to is a skill which probably is going to hold them in sort of great stead between now and the end of the season. Because, you know, 3 points to 3 points, yeah, that's great. But you'll be coming up against different types of opposition where the need and the desperation just changes on a week-to-week basis. Because the hardest game City might face now might not necessarily be against United at the weekend. It might be against a team that's down in the bottom 4 come 2-3 weeks left to go at the end of the season. You need to know how to beat them. And I think City has shown that they know how to beat everybody at the moment.
Absolutely. And in that game as well, the forward line obviously wasn't firing as well as we would like.
Yeah.
But the defenders stepped up. And that, to me, is a really sign of a really great collective team.
The thing is, not every once again, I don't think every single player has to be brilliant to win a game when you've got Manchester City's quality. What you need to do is build a good base, and then someone will step up and save you, basically. So if everyone else is kind of 6, you only need a couple of players to have an 8 out of 10 game to win the game, especially when we've got the quality that we did. And in this instance, obviously, it was De Bruyne's pass, even though he was pretty quiet by his own usual brilliant standards. I mean, but that's what this City team have got. As long as they all work hard, and you know they're going to, as long as they're all organised, you know they're going to be, because it's Pep Guardiola. We're going to have moments of quality, and be it Diaz or Stones or Laporte or whoever on the end of these crosses, we will find a way to win because we're organised, because we're prepared. And also, I've noticed as well a little bit at the moment that we come out in the second half. We do seem to come out stronger in the second half, and I do wonder if that's Pep sitting back, you know, taking notes, looking for weak spots and all that kind of stuff. And I guess that's where we're lucky to have a manager who can notice these little moments.
It's interesting you say that, actually. So this is now the pervy defenders or the ex-player side of things. I think there's probably a link between, say, teams coming to City or playing against City and in the first half trying to be as solid as possible, but as the game progresses you start seeing more and more people try and step out, maybe try and press a bit higher, losing a bit of the structure. And the last team you want to play against when you're not in your solid banks as you were at the start of the game is Man City, because they will literally pass you to death.
Yeah.
And just pick and probe and get balls into certain areas and
tiredness
so on.
And all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Like, it's for a team to go 90 minutes of doing the right thing, as in terms of opposition for City, is very, very difficult. But if you have something to hold on to, it becomes that little bit easier. But most of these sides now, no teams had a lead against City for, I don't know, since the pandemic started.
Cheltenham,
basically,
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was
Cheltenham,
the last
which
one.
is mad, but yeah.
That was the last one. So those teams there in the second half, they don't have something significant to hold on to. So they feel they have to go out reaching for something. And that plays right into City's hands, because I think it was when they played Newcastle here, Gundogan said in the second half, Newcastle got frustrated and they started to step out a bit more. And he said that suited them down to the ground.
And at half-time as well, against Liverpool, Pep noticed that Trent was getting a lot of space, so he kind of shut that off. And then, of course, then you can bring on Torres, or you can bring on Aguero, and also they're going to do something different.
It's the thing. It's little tweaks and little adjustments, and I think Pep's doing very, very well with that. Because I think in the West Ham game as well, from where I was looking at it, they kept trying to play a diagonal ball to City's left-hand side, where Wenger would come inside and then Kufal would go forward, and that's what led to the first goal. But from when you took that away from him in the second half, before you know, West Ham have run out of ideas. And I think the fact that he can understand that and manage that and make the right changes to stop that, again, shows that between now and the end of the season, it's going to be a really, really tough game for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, I've got a real soft spot for West Ham as well, and I'm going to guess that you're the same as me. I'd absolutely love it if they finish in the top four above Liverpool and United. David Moyes above United would be my...
Oh, that'd be beautiful, wouldn't it? It's banner-worthy, that.
Oh, right. Yes, that would be amazing. Now, obviously, as a defender there, I'd love to get your opinion on the Diaz and the Stones goals from the weekend.
Okay.
We do have some incredible footage. I love this footage that we get of the games that we're going to bring up in a second.
Yeah.
Have you ever scored a goal like the Stones goal there?
Not quite to pull off like that. I've scored a few in that area, but not like that. No, that's a skill in itself. But if we're going to be seeing this one in particular, is this the Stones one? So obviously Mahrez in the box here is bad news. The fact he's gone down the line has completely confused the defender. But for someone like John Stones there to not just go and stand in the 6-yard box, he shows that he's trying to find space and trying to actually be available to score.
Look at that celebration as well, by the way. He loves it at the moment, doesn't he? You can tell that's a man who's really, really happy. Like, really happy.
Listen, when you score a goal, as a defender, the emotion is unreal, because I didn't sign up for this. Like, what's just happened? But yeah, as I was saying with John Stones there, he's sensed, like, it's not just about watching the ball, it's about finding space. And if we saw that from Gundogan, it'd be like, yeah, that's just what he does. But for a defender to have a little bit more of a thought about it kind of says a lot about the fact that he's actually in there, not just for the sake of it, but to actually affect the game in a positive way.
Yeah, and the fact that they were, it was the Diaz goal when they're both up there.
Oh, let me tell you about this one. Let me tell you about this one. So
Nedum's excited here.
But I'm excited because I think I'm going to give a slightly different perspective on this. So for the Diaz goal, so we're going to play it from this point, and the ball that Kevin De Bruyne played is like exceptional. Like, most people that are right-footed can't do that with their right.
Yeah.
And that's a great header, and the fact that you've got two centre-backs there is incredible. But the play itself came from a corner on the right-hand side, which went too far, and the ball was on City's left for a good few seconds. But when you play for a team whereby everybody does their jobs and at the right time, you can have centre-backs stay forward because they trust they're not going to lose the ball. And as I say, to be able to do that and to have moments like this is stunning. The two highest players for Man City are the two centre-backs.
Two false nines there up front.
Yeah.
For the centre-backs.
And we're talking 10, 15 seconds, maybe longer, after the corner kick was initially taken.
That's conviction once again in the game plan, isn't it?
Exactly.
Knowing that people are covering it, which is fascinating, because most teams would, I guess if you play Man City, they would panic and go, we need a centre-backs back in case they can't.
100%. And some of that is as well, like, you would panic, but I think a lot of that's to do as well as to do with the fact that with the City team, people have their responsibilities, and it's not a case of, like, I have to run back because I know this player won't defend, or I think this player will lose the ball. No, everybody knows that if you're near, you have to defend. And as well as that, you have to defend and protect the ball. So when you have that level of trust all around the field, you can say, well, I'm going to stay forward for this and cause a different type of threat and score big goals like that.
Yeah, and they've scored more goals than they have conceded when they've been playing together.
Brilliant, that, isn't it?
I love that.
3 conceded and 5 scored together. That's crazy.
It's brilliant, isn't it? But I love the fact that, we say a lot again, contributions coming from all over the pitch. We're seeing every area of the pitch being able to score, every area of the pitch defending as well, Nedum. They really are playing as a unit, aren't they? Yeah,
100%. I think that's been a key to their success. For as much as Diaz has been incredible and Stones has been fantastic as well, like, two players on an island can't stop a whole team. Like, everybody has to contribute, and I think City in the last couple of months, maybe 3 months or so, they've defended really well from the front to the point where defenders are constantly being put under pressure. Then it's the same thing in the midfield. And when we're looking back at the goals from the last time I think Wolves won here, look how open it was. it's been a long time since I've seen City appear open, because they've got bodies in the right places and always have bodies back to be able to engage as high as possible and make it as hard as possible for the team that they're playing against to create opportunities. And that, as I say, it's not down to, although we want to romanticize it, say it's down to two people, the team defending together as a collective is why they've conceded so few goals. That's my opinion. I think I'm going to stick with that forever.
Plus the amazing guy that we've got in between the sticks there, of course, that we mentioned, that is, the one solid one there for your fantasy football team. And Ederson has been discussing his life at City this week. Let's have a little hear now what he had to say.
What was your first match for Manchester City?
Bom, eu lembro que foi contra o Brighton, meu primeiro jogo na Premier League, e a gente acabou tendo uma vitória de 2-0. Foi 1 ou 2-0, já não me recordo o resultado, mas eu sei que foi clean sheet. E foi bom estrear essa camisa, senti o peso dela, e depois dali foi só felicidade.
How did you feel during your first training session?
Bom, é completamente diferente de no clube anterior que eu estava. Foi uma coisa nova que eu tive que me adaptar, e a adaptação acabou sendo muito boa.
What was your best match for Manchester City?
Não sei. não me lembro.
No? What was your toughest match for Manchester City?
Mais duro, creio que contra Manchester United em Old Trafford.
Which was your toughest rival?
Liverpool.
When did you get your first yellow card?
Não lembro.
Such a wide area, but Ederson doesn't mistime those very often.
What was the moment when you suffered most on the pitch?
No frio.
Who's your best friend?
Meus filhos.
Oh, and you couldn't love him anymore. His best friend is his child. Oh, I love that. And then,
Which one?
Yeah.
Your favourite?
We were laughing there, weren't we, saying we think he's some sort of robot. He's
I love
just
it. His
amazing.
one-word answers. He's like pure business, Ederson. I love it.
In terms of a player, Ederson, do you remember when he first joined? As a fan for me, I was kind of, to start with, it took a little bit to get used to, and you were like, whoa, what's this all about? And now you're just like, I just love him.
He's genuinely different. He's just built different, that man. And I guess we were kind of slightly used to giving Bravo and stuff like that. But Ederson is... There's certain footballers that make you genuinely reconsider what you know of a position. And at the moment, Ederson is quite literally that guy. Like, I never thought a keeper could be as good a footballer as Ederson is. I mean, we saw it a little bit, but I genuinely believe he's on another level. So even, I think he's better than Neto at what he does, honestly. I think he's freakishly good. And I guess he's quintessentially important to this team because he sets the tone. Like, he genuinely sets the tone. And if he exudes confidence, it means the defenders do. And they trust giving him the ball, so they trust his shape. And there's no nervousness from anyone in the team. And that only helps to build the confidence in the system. And Ederson is possibly our most important sign under Guardiola. I believe that to be true because he changes everything about how we play. And obviously, we see we've got an assist recently as well, which is ridiculous. I mean, like, he's a special footballer. I love him. He's weird and he's brilliant, and I love it.
I love him.
Put him on pens.
Yes, I love him. In terms of a defender, Nedum, what does it mean to you when you're playing in front of a goalkeeper that is so confident and is so talented, and that you and your teammates have so much confidence in?
You know, obviously, the City team that I played in was different to this one in terms of how we played and so on. But I was still felt very lucky to have played in front of a Joe Hart, who did an exceptional job here. But it's a great feeling because you know that if you are beaten, there's a good chance that somebody's going to save the day. And with someone like Ederson, he saves a lot of shots, But as well as that, in possession, he's very, very comfortable. I think traditionally we're used to seeing balls roll back to keepers and they just kick it long, aimlessly. But for him, he's another key member of the build-out. And City are all about the build-out. You know, it seems like sometimes they're going side to side just for the sake of it, but they're not. It's a ploy to move the opposition around. And when you can add your goalkeeper to that, it gives you so many other options. And, you know, he's like a quarterback as well. When you look at the assist he had to Gundogan, that's not by chance, because you see him try that all the time. You have a front line that he's got it at his feet 1,000 yards away. Now's a good time to just try and get him behind. Now, that's a great position to be in, because you won't necessarily see that from the centre-backs. But when the goalkeeper can do it, as an opposition player, you're thinking, do we step forward, do we go back? You take a step back and they roll it out to the people at the back. You take a step forward and somebody's getting played in by some outrageous ball. So it's a great spot to be in. And to reference one particular game, I think at the end of the Mönchengladbach game, there was a mistake which led to the chance, which he saved at the end. And the thing that impressed me the most in that whole game was his attitude when the final whistle went, because he was the angriest person on that field, because he knew the importance of that particular moment. He knew the importance of a clean sheet. And for a team like City, he was bored senseless for 85 minutes, maybe longer.
Bored Ederson.
But he's left the field with the emotion of rage after winning 2-0, because he knows that the standard that should be set wasn't met in that moment.
Imagine being Rodri that day in the dressing room. I would not have liked to be Rodri that day.
You don't want any of that.
Oh, I don't want Ederson being mad at me. No way. We saw there on the clips one of the derby games from last year when he made the slight error, but then he corrects it by chasing back, and he looks, even though there's an error and the ball's rolling into the goal, he's so calm, even under so much pressure. How does somebody stay so calm?
Great firmware update. You know, he's a robot. I don't know, man. Like, he doesn't feel anything, and I guess that what makes him so composed. Some people are just born different. You know, genuinely, like he's just relaxed, and you can tell that nothing phases him. And once again, that's just important to the team, because he literally does set the example from the back. And but I guess he also has that just that complete conviction and self-belief in what he does, and he knows he's a good footballer. He believes in his abilities, and you have to have a bit of that to get to the top of the game. Anyway, I would guess. You know, have to have that self-confidence, and for goalkeepers as well, you got to make mistakes, and every goalkeeper's going to make mistakes at some point, and you can choose to, you know, die over it if you want to, but you're going to have to just crack on, really. And the best footballers, I presume, they forget their mistakes, and they trust themselves to get over it and carry on. And goalkeepers in particular, they're always in the spotlight, because usually a mistake, you know, it costs a goal. But I guess he knows deep down that it's just football. You have to crack on, don't you?
I love Ederson, so calm. I want to be more Ederson. And of course, coming into the weekend, we of course have the derby game again, 2 games a week, thick and fast at the minute. So a little look ahead to the derby game on Sunday, Nedum. United, obviously, second in the league just now. 0-0 draw against Chelsea at the weekend. Yep. You know, they're doing really well in terms of what their expectations were over their season, or at least what their fans' expectations were. How do you think they've done so far this season?
I think, to be honest, if City hadn't done what they've just done in the last 3 months, then they'd be part of a significant title race, but it feels like it's a bit beyond them right now. And I wouldn't necessarily put that down to them being really sloppy or whatever, because I think traditionally they'll be in a respectable spot to close out the season, as I say, in maybe a 2-horse race. But City have been exceptional. You know, when a team is literally winning every single week, it takes a lot to be able to match that. And the fans, United fans, I'm sure they'll be incredibly unhappy to see their neighbours doing so well, especially when they look at their own team and wonder how many of their players would actually get to the City team and so on. But that's, for them, I think derby games, kind of like what we were like when we were younger, the derby game probably means more to them than, say, winning this title, which is a crazy position to be in.
And it's a cup final now, you could say.
You could literally say that, because I remember times when I used to try and convince a United fan that the derby was a big game, and they were like, "Why? What's going on? Are we getting the 3 points in a different way this time?" But now it's like, no, it's just. It's a huge game, and the fact that City have earned the right to be in a position whereby they don't even have to win it to potentially win 4 trophies at the end of the season is a great spot to be in, which they deserve, which they've earned, and United are just going to have to suck it up and just deal with it.
Yes. It is a big game for them, though, obviously, because it is so tight around there. You know, with Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea as well coming up behind them. For them to finish second this season would be a huge accomplishment for them. So it is a really big game for them. And then you add on the fact that it's a derby as well.
Yeah, and of course we talk about City. It's probably we hope it feels like it's going to be our title again, but there is only 12 points in it. And, one victory turns it to 9 points, and I guess United, a two about losing a lead like that. So it's not literally over. They've got a win for them would give them confidence, and presuming it's at the end of this kind of successful spell at City at the moment, it could change things pretty quickly. So they'll be fired up for it. Last time we played them, we were pretty comfortable beating them 2-0, but it's a derby. It matters. It does matter. And is a little bit of maybe hurt pride for them at the moment. So they'll be really up for it. I'm excited. I'm already nervous. I can't, as a fan, we're allowed to think ahead. We're allowed to, but it's massive. It's absolutely massive. And as Nedum was saying, because things have changed, and these days it's a game that they probably fear more than us. And I love that. And I'm never going to get bored of it personally.
Can I just spin the tables a little bit for you here? Because what you said is true. And as I say, I feel exactly like you do in terms of like a win for United and the race is back on and so on. But if the shoe was on the other foot and you were 12 points behind and you won and took it to 9, how excited would you be about the title race being back on at 9 points?
Oh, you wouldn't really.
Exactly.
But we've seen it against Liverpool previously when we beat them here, and then all of a sudden it was going to be 10, then it was 7. Was
that not a case of going from? Did it drop down to 7?
Or did it drop down to 4? I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
I
either
think
way,
it was very significant.
What I'm saying is that
significant.
I guess they can ask a question in football. Such an emotional game, isn't it? And things can change like that. And I wouldn't fear it. I wouldn't be worried. But you don't want to give them that hope, is what I'm saying. And and Pep will be aware of that as well.
Do we?
No, nothing. Not even a tea towel from here. They want nothing from here, basically. But Pep will be aware of that. But to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if that game's easier to get up for anyway. That game. It's a big game. It's a derby. I can imagine as a top class footballer motivating yourself to play against United is probably easier than motivating yourself to play against West Ham at the weekend or something like that. And that's not a disrespect to West Ham. It's just United. A derby's a derby. It drives itself, doesn't it? So I think Pep would probably be more nervous about this game now. I'm probably paraphrasing. He's probably telling me I'm talking stupid nonsense there. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's saying you've got to focus on this one. You've got to focus on this game because this is huge. And don't think about United yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a fan, though, you say I've got one eye ahead, looking forward to the weekend because, I grew up in a school where I was relentlessly bullied by United fans for being a City fan. So I will enjoy every single derby, regardless of how many points ahead we are. Now, I want to show you all something in case you haven't seen it on the socials this week. A little clip from training involving Kyle Walker. Take a little look at this. If you aren't already smiling with all this derby talk, you will be smiling now. For the camera, so if you missed it there, that is Kyle Walker nutmegging Ruben Diaz. He's a braver man than I as well. Nedum, have you ever been nutmegged by your fellow
do you know
players?
what? I'm gonna say this might sound nuts, but I think in my career in training, I've been nutmegged maximum maybe 10 times. I've given out a lot more than I've received. A lot more. And it's a sick feeling, especially in this later era where like training sessions are recorded, because that's never going to disappear. You know what I mean? Like Ruben Diaz could be 60 years old, and someone say, "Oh, there's this thing called YouTube, and I found this on there." You know what I mean? So it's tough for him, but then it's just good to see that they're enjoying themselves. Because even though it's business when they're playing games, you still need to bring it back to a point where you can enjoy doing what you do. And as I say, it's great to see someone like Kyle Walker getting a nutmeg. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's dead now, isn't he? He's dead. He's dead.
Yeah, he is brave. But that's what I took from it when I saw it as well, is the camaraderie, is the fun that they're having in training. Obviously, the very serious part of training. But they're enjoying each other's company. They're having fun. And that's surely only a benefit to us as a team.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak, but I'm sure Nedum can. But in general, I presume it works a lot easier when you get on with your colleagues. It will be a thing where if you trust your colleagues, you get on with them, you have that relationship with them. We were talking earlier about Stones and Diaz. You can see that connection where they care about each other. Football becomes easier, I'm sure it does.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and like the clip shows there, the fact that Kyle Walker knew that he could celebrate suggests that he's got a good relationship with Diaz.
Do you regret that?
No, I generally don't think he would, because in my time, I've seen some people do nutmegs, and the moment they try and celebrate, somebody's lunging straight in at them. So I think that kind of shows that like the atmosphere is the atmosphere is in a place where that to get a nutmeg is fine, regardless of whoever it's been done to. But yeah, there've been a few incidents in the past where that's not quite the same.
Names. I can picture some people in my head.
If you think it, you probably guessed it.
We've had some great stories on this programme, particularly involving Andy Morrison and Paul Dickoff in similar situations there. So yes, I can imagine. So we're under 10 minutes now away from the big kick-off tonight against Wolves. Thank you very much for joining us on We're Not Really Here. Wherever you are in the world tonight, we love you all and we enjoy celebrating our supporters clubs from all over the world. And tonight we want to give a big shout out and a big wave to the brilliant following that we have over in China and the Guang Supporters Club. Hello to you all. We love you. We hope to see you in Manchester very, very soon. And we also love all of our junior citizens. And every match we have a junior citizen of the match. And we get some brilliant videos. They're so passionate. The passion is clearly born into these mini citizens. So today's junior citizen of the match is Hansleen. She is 7. Just like me, her favourite player is Sergio, and she is from Manchester.
Hi everyone, my name is Hansleen. I'm 7 years old. I'm from Manchester. I'm the junior citizen of the match against Wolves. Come on, City! Bye!
Great skills at the end.
I love
there.
That. We have it there, the PAK have it to the end. Just walloping it away, yeah.
I love it.
More of that stuff.
We get so much passion from these kids. It's absolutely brilliant. So, yes, as I say, about 5-6 minutes away from kickoff now. In case you haven't seen it yet, we're going to recap the team news for you now. So the starting 11 for tonight in goal is, of course, Ederson. And then a back four of Walker, Diaz, Laporte and Cancelo. And moving into midfield, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who is captain, Rodri and Bernardo Silva, and then Mahrez, Sterling and Gabriel Jesus. So 6 changes from the team that played against West Ham at the weekend there. So that's the starting 11 for tonight's game. And yeah, kickoff is now, checking my watch, about 6 or 7 minutes. And as we always do at this point in We're Not Really Here, we move on to my favourite part of the show. Now, all you regular watchers will know about our Guess the Blue. Sometimes I call it Mystery Blue. I forget what it's actually called, but this sounds similar. And it's where we take a picture of a former City player and we slightly blur it up and we ask you to guess who it is. Now, they have been, in my opinion, super easy in recent weeks. And on Saturday, I might have made the fatal error of mocking producer Tom too much about how easy it was. And producer Tom tells me that this one tonight is super tough and is really going to test to see if I am a genuine City fan. So this is your time now for Guess the Blue. So let's have a look. Okay, right. That's Stephen Island in the background. I'm having that Stephen Island in the background.
I think I know who that is.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay, I think I know who it is.
When do we put our guesses in later on?
Half time we put our guesses in. Right, so I think the distinctive thing there is the orange shirt. Can you remember, did you play in that orange shirt?
I did, yeah, I did. I think
what
that was
year
around
would that be?
As Mark Hughes times, so I think probably 2008, 2009. Yeah, sometime around there.
Great tip. Without saying who you think the actual player was, that's Stephen Island in the background though, isn't it?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Are we guessing both of them? Maybe we should guess both of them, producer Tom. Let's make it twice as hard.
No, Stephen Island's got the smallest head in the game. I could tell that's him for a while off.
Okay, I don't instantly know who that is, but I've got a few names in my head. But when we said 2008 there, I think I was a little bit early with my first guess. But if you think you know who it is, we'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, you can get in touch by using the hashtag WNRH. Who is our mystery blue today? Oh, we always love seeing your pictures of where you are watching the game. What's your setup like in your house? And also, we were talking there before about Riyad Mahrez. I'd love to know your thoughts on Riyad Mahrez's season so far. And we will read out some of the best tweets at half time. So kickoff is just upon us now, gents. Let's have some final thoughts. Nedum, what are you expecting from the first 45 minutes?
I think Wolves going to be sitting back and hopefully trying to catch City on the break. But I think today, if City just limit the mistakes and they're really clean on the ball, I can see it potentially being a comfortable day. So I'm probably thinking maybe a 2, maybe a 3-0.
2-0, 3-0. I like that. Stephen, what are you thinking about the game? And give us your prediction.
I went for a 3-0 on my YouTube channel, so I'm going to say 3-0. I reckon it'll be close for a while, probably a goal in the first half, but then we have a couple of late ones, I reckon, as Wolves push forward a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be easy. It won't be. No, sorry, it's not going to be easy.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I mean, it's not going to be easy.
Edit,
what I meant to say
point,
is it's going to be
point.
the kind of game where like it's closer than it looks, and then we pull away at the end. I reckon personally, but Wolves are a good side. That was Freudian. Maybe I'm really confident, but maybe I'm not.
Secret confident over here, maybe. So 2 or 3. I was going to say 2. So we're kind of all equal in the studio today. Right. So as always, we'll be back here at half-time giving you instant analysis. You can join us then. If you're not watching the game live on TV, you can get the best commentary on the Manchester City app. That is with the wonderful Alistair Mann. Cannot recommend you listen to that highly enough. And then get back here at half-time to join us for some instant analysis. Right, Blues? Enjoy the game.
Kevin De Bruyne, he goes down, and the referee points to the penalty spot. He lines it up and scores. Sterling cuts it back, it's Foden. 2-0 to City. Gabriel Jesus, he's picked this one up inside the box, goes for goal, and he finds the net. Gabriel Jesus making it 3-1.
And Wolves torn apart. What a move from City. City back in action.